This video was produced by The Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG, tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching. Alright, welcome back to Game 2 of the Top 16 from the Illinois State Championship between Jason Klosinski, two-time world champion, versus Dan Pang on the right in this Terrakion versus Mew Vanillix Victini Vileplume deck. In the first game, Dan did mulligan 12 times, causing Jason to get a perfect start. But in this game, he has not mulliganed a single time. So hopefully this plays out a little bit differently. Maybe Jason will have a little bit of a tougher time setting up this time. Who knows? So right off the bat, we see a heavy ball for another Terrakion. Of course, Dan is just playing his solo Terrakion deck. Only Pokemon in the deck are 4 Terrakions, a deck that became popular when Curran Hill won the Virginia State Championship in the first week of state championships. And we are seeing this popularity spread all the way over to the state of Illinois. Now, what kind of a start will Jason have? He does have a Pokemon Communication in his hand, I do see. Puts down an Oddish, and he's going to shuffle Vileplume into his deck. Might just go for a second Oddish here and used Eek with Cleffa, trying to get a Vileplume out. So there are a lot of steps to Jason's setup. Step 1 is to use Mew to see off, put a Pokemon into the Lost Zone. Usually Vanillix goes in first. Step 2 is to get a Vileplume into play. And he actually grabs a Mew right off the bat. So let's see, he'll put that down with a Rainbow Energy. So step 2 is to get the Vileplume into play to shut down trainers. And step 3 is to get enough Mews to attack. I guess step 3 would be get Victini so your flips can, so you can get better odds on your flips. So really there's a lot of ways that things can go wrong. You can run out of Oddishes, so you don't get Vileplume in play. You can run out of Mews. You can have your Vanillixes or your Unfezants prized. You can have your Victinis prized. A lot of stuff can go wrong here, but when everything goes perfectly according to plan, this deck is extremely strong. It's just getting to that point, which is a difficult part. And we actually see a catcher on Oddish. So, actually Dan does not have a fighting energy, so this is awful. If he had a fighting, he could have a plus power here, knock out this Oddish, and he would actually be in good shape, I think. But missing an energy drop here is going to be abysmal, and he actually plays a heavy ball, I guess just to thin out his deck a little bit here. This is not a good start, and he actually... Oh, he has one non-full art Terrakion. He's kind of the black sheep of the bunch. But he puts that one down. And really, for Dan to have a chance here, he would just have to start knocking out things starting turn 2. And that's it. But when you miss an energy drop like that, it's going to give Jason a chance. He just has more time to set up. And that's exactly what you don't want him to have. If you allow Jason to just sit there and set up everything, then he's going to be the favorite to win the series, no doubt. Unless he just starts flipping a bunch of tails, which can happen, but it's not too likely. So, let's see. He puts a Prism Energy onto that Oddish. And if you notice, Dan actually has 0 cards in his hand at this point, so he is completely reliant on his top card, which he will draw next turn. Yeah, I mean, when you don't put pressure on Jason early, and you just allow him to get everything into play, he's going to start getting everything he needs. He'll establish his lock, and there's no way around it. So, let's see, he will play a Collector to get 2 more Mews. I would assume another Oddish, but we'll see about that. Just gonna search through his deck, and yes, another Oddish. There is a chance that Dan could top deck a Supporter and get a fighting and a plus power. That would be kind of devastating if Jason didn't have another Oddish sitting there already. So I think this turn we're actually going to see something kind of goofy, which is Find a Friend from Oddish. If he flips heads, he'll be able to search for a grass Pokemon. He actually gets to reflip thanks to Victory Star, but he got 2 tails anyway. So it's kind of cute where you can... here's a Crushing Hammer, and that's a heads, so flip's not going Jason's way so far, but that's kind of cute where you can reuse Find a Friend in this situation. And here is a Sage's Training. It's gonna be digging for rare candy, I am sure. Now, the Lost Remover and the Crushing Hammer, they might not seem like a big deal, but that actually could come back to add up later when Jason just doesn't have the cards or the energy to attack later. That certainly is a possibility. He still needs 2 energy, which need to be Psychic type, to use See-Off, and then he'll need Water energy to use Double Freeze. So these early Crushing Hammer and Lost Removers, they actually could end up being a pretty big deal. And we'll just kind of wait to see what Jason discards off his Sage's Training. Looks like the first card is a Twins, but there is a chance Jason could run out of energy if he doesn't get his Vileplume out quickly enough, and Dan keeps using Lost Removers and Crushing Hammers. That's one way he could win. It's not very often you get to see that work, but that's one way he could win. Of course, Dan's still in a terrible spot. He has no hand. He hasn't been able to attack, but Jason isn't in a much better spot. He has a very slow start, and he's just going to sit here. He might use Ram, he might not. He might retreat and Eek. And yeah, he's going to Ram for 20 damage. Terrakion is weak to grass. I don't know whether or not that was necessary, but he's just going to go ahead and do it. And Dan's actually going to switch. I don't like this at all. He's going to switch to this Terrakion with no energy, pretty much making it impossible for him to do any sort of aggression anytime soon. And we saw Jason top deck to Vileplume. If he gets a rare candy off of this Sage's Training, which he certainly could, then it's just going to be Terrakion is stuck in the active spot. The 4 retreat cost with no energy. Can't use Switch, and that's going to be it. I don't think... Oh, okay, there's a rare candy. Never mind. So, trainers are completely shut off at this point. Jason uses See-Off to get Vanillux. And, I think this is going to be all downhill from here for Dan. He just draws and passes. He doesn't have a supporter. He doesn't have any energy. And this is just going to be very painful to watch, unfortunately. We won't really see Dan doing much for a while. And this could be the first time I've ever seen this Vanillux deck not give up a prize, which is saying something. Well, I guess I've seen it happen against Durant, but otherwise I've never seen this deck not yield a prize to somebody. We're just playing a normal deck, which is really saying something. When you can't even take a prize against the slowest deck in the format, your start must be really, really bad. And of course it is. So now Dan, he's gonna draw, and hey, he's got a fighting. Okay. Unfortunately, that active Terrakion has no energy on it. It's got a 4 retreat cost, and really, I don't know what Dan is planning here. He's probably not planning anything besides, I'm just going to sit here and wait till Jason wins. Because really, what else can he do? His deck is not good against Vileplume. He only has 4 Terrakions in his whole deck. And all he can do is just kind of pray that Jason flips tails over and over and over and over and over and over and over. But still, he probably should have attached to the active Terrakion. So now Jason will wake up. Just got Cleffa up there. Dan is still waiting on a supporter or something. And Jason's just taking his sweet time, knowing, okay, I probably cannot lose this game. It would be the unluckiest thing in the world if I manage to lose a game where I got completely set up. Vanilluxe, Unpheasant, and the Lost Zone, Vileplume in play, Victini in play, 2 Mews set up ready to go. It would be so unlucky for me to lose this game. There's no way. And here we're just going to see him use Double Freeze. He's actually probably contemplating using one of the other attacks. He does flip 2 tails there, but there is a heads, and there's another heads. So, I think on average Jason has been doing 80 with Double Freeze, which isn't bad. And hey, there's a Juniper, okay. So there is 7 cards for Dan. A little late, but what can you do? It looks like he does have that 4th Terrakion out there. He's got a fighting. Might as well just attach it to the active, since there is an experience share on his benched one, but not a big deal at all. I don't know if he'll actually be able to do damage this game. So here we're going to see Fly, and Victory Star is going to reflip because that was tails, and there's a heads, and there will be a knockout, and 1 Terrakion down, 3 to go in this very, very strange match. So, right now Jason is in the lead, taking the first prize, which I still find very bizarre. We do see an N from Dan. I don't think there's much he can do at this point, though. He's really got nothing going for him. Jason's completely set up, and this is gonna be pretty straightforward as long as Jason flips heads decently well. He can even afford to miss quite a few flips, and he'll end up winning still. So, right now, we'll probably just see another Double Freeze out of Jason. He's going to retreat, I think, or he can just attach the Prism to his active. Either one is good. Yeah, he's actually not in any danger to even be knocked out if he does miss all 4 Double Freeze flips. The most Dan would be able to do next turn is retaliate for 30. So here we go. Here's Double Freeze, tails, and tails. So we're going to have a Victory Star reflip. I didn't catch that one. Might have been a heads. Don't know. There's a tails. So, okay, we got 1 heads. That will do 40 damage. Bringing Jason's average down a little bit, but that's okay. No big deal. Now, if I were Dan, I would actually attach the fighting to the active Terrakion, threatening a Land Crush knockout, which she does. Okay. So now all he's gonna do is sit there and pray. Pray that Jason flips 0 out of 4 heads instead of 1 out of 4. So all he can do is pass. And really, these turns are going to get very simple for Jason. He's just going to be attacking and flipping coins. Flipping coins is going to be the hardest part. So there's 1 heads and 2 heads. That will do 80 damage with Double Freeze. Terrakion will be paralyzed. He'll have 10 hit points left. This is what I was talking about in the other game where this math kind of adds up. He can afford to get 2 heads there. There will still be 10 hit points left on the Terrakion. And next turn, he will be able to fly, Mew, fly, and get a knockout. To give you guys an idea of how poor this situation really is for Dan, if Jason were to just switch gears completely and start attacking with Vileplume, I think he would still win this game. And actually, he's just going to attack with Oddish. Oh, is Jason mocking his opponent? I don't think so. But Oddish takes down Terrakion with Ram. He's probably just clearing bench space so he can put down another Mew. He gives up the shutout, but that's alright. There's more important things here. So Oddish will take down the mighty Terrakion, and we're going to see her retaliate, I think. So at least Dan will take a prize, I think. So yeah, not too often you get to see an Oddish ram a Terrakion in the face and knock him out. But hey, anything can happen here. on the top cut. So, as I thought, it was just to clear up a bench space for another Mew. So here is Fly, or actually it's Double Freeze, sorry. 1 heads, that'll do 40. That's all Jason wants. It's going to be Dan's turn again, he's still paralyzed. So now, I mean, Jason doesn't really care what happens. Dan only has 4 Terrakions in his deck. 2 of them are knocked out. This third one's going to get knocked out. And this game is going to be over pretty soon. So right now, here is another a rainbow on that Mew. That one has a rescue energy, so Jason might retreat to that one. He's just going to think about his options. There's 60 damage on that Terrakion. I'm not sure what he's thinking about here. He might be thinking about whether or not going for Double Freeze or Fly here. They have the same odds, but if he got 2 heads on Double Freeze, then he might just take the knockout, knowing that Dan only has 1 Terrakion left. So, Jason's making some sort of decision here. He's making the decision, how do I want to win? He's actually going to go... Oh, he's going to use Cutting Wind with Unpheasant for 70 damage and get a knockout that way. So Jason is using every single attack in his arsenal this game, apparently. This is not good for Dan. I'm not sure why he didn't attack with the one that had... Oh, the rescue energy one didn't have 3 energy, so never mind. So, place your bets now. How is Jason going to finish off this game? Is he going to attack with Vileplume? Is he going to attack with Victini? Is he going to use Mew to see off for something else? Or is he just going to keep using Double Freeze and maybe Cutting Wind or Fly? These are all viable options here. Dan... Oh, not sure what's happening here. Maybe he drew the wrong amount of cards for N. So, let's see. Yep, he drew too few cards for N. And then he's going to take his prize. So, some minor stuff there. So right now, Jason, I don't know if he can lose. He could just Double Freeze here. I don't know what else he would really want to do. So here we go, Double Freeze. Yep, here we go. So Tails. And... Tails. Uh-oh, Victory Star. Here we go again. Tails, if he gets one more, that could be some trouble, actually. But alright, he gets a heads. There's 40 damage, and Terrakion will be paralyzed. That actually could have been somewhat of a chance for Dan to come back, if there were 4 Tails there. But didn't happen. Now we'll probably just see another Double Freeze. And yeah, that will probably be it. If Jason hits 1 more heads, then the game's going to be over. So Jason's just going to say, alright, how many Terrakions are in your discard pile? Dan will say 3. Jason will say, okay, that means you have no Pokemon left. That means if I knock out this Terrakion, the game ends. And what is my most efficient way of doing that? So Jason is an expert at torturing his opponent, even though he has a 99% chance of winning. He just wants to make sure that he wins for sure. And he will do 40 again. Leaves that Terrakion with 50 damage. And now Jason just retreats, and he'll use Cutting Wind with Unpheasant. And that will be the game. Jason will win this series 2-0. Dan will be eliminated. He got an unfortunate matchup here. And Jason will move on with this strange Vanillix Unpheasant Vileplume Victini deck. And we'll see if his magical run can continue with this deck. As you can see, when it sets up, it's very strong. But will it be able to set up? We will find out in the top 8, where we have another game from Jason, and we'll see if he can triumph over this format using his deck and prove that Vileplume is still alive. So, thank you guys for watching this series. Wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but you got to see a strange, creative deck in action, and we'll see if Jason can keep winning. He's a great player with this great new deck, and we'll see if he can come out on top. So, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have some more games up soon from the Illinois State Championship. This has been Puka here on the Top Cut.